Hello, Jeffrey here again. I've been kind of lazy for a few days. I'm going to show you what I have to do next on the Cat 60, and I can give you a little background. When I started on this a few years back, of course the engine was tight, and what I did was pulled the side covers off the crankcase, unbolted the cylinders from the crankcase, unbolted the rod from the crank, and then lifted the cylinder with the piston and rod out in one piece, and then took them over to my press, put a 20-ton jack in it to press the pistons out. Two came out, one came almost slid out, two were intermediate, and one was really tough. I needed heat and everything with a 20-ton jack to get one piston out, but they all came out successfully. And now I'm waiting for the cylinders to be bored and surfaced. So now I got to start to clean the crank up. And if you look, that's the rear main. It has three mains. That's the center main, and that's the front main. I took the main bearing caps off before I turned the crank and polished on the crank, because if you look there, lighting isn't real good. Because if you look there, there's some pitting on the crank, but I think it'll be fine. I'm sure it will be. And the covers when I first get this running, I will be removing the covers at regular intervals to inspect that everything is staying tight. But as I said, I took the caps off and I polished up the crank on the top half before I turned it at all, because I didn't want to be turning any of the corrosion on the crank down onto the lower bearing halves. I couldn't really do anything with what was underneath. So I would polish it, oil it, turn a little bit, polish, oil it, turn a little bit, till I polished all the way around. And I've sprayed them till I made a full revolution. And now I have them sprayed down. I've had them sprayed down with white lithium grease to protect them from further corrosion until I get back at it now. So I'll be starting first just generally cleaning it up. I have been doing some polishing on the camshaft, but I still have more polishing to do on the lobes. Now I can get a light, show you a few of the other things I do. You can see the rear main. I want to clean that all up real good. And then I have to shim the main bearing cap. And I have it on good authority to clear. It should be between 4 and 6 thousandths. So that'll be the next step, cleaning up and getting the main bearing caps back on. But when I first turned it, I just put the transmission neutral and turned it because the clutch was stuck. Well, I got the clutch free. First I pulled the pins. And then I pulled this collar back, and then I would work on it in here. See, the center is the clutch plate driven by the flywheel through these fabric links. I actually have some NOS links somewhere that I brought home with this thing. And then the lined plates are on front and back. So I pulled the pins, backed it off, and went in here with a putty knife and worked on it to get the main clutch loose. And as you can see, the adjuster is loose too, for tightening the clutch, the over center clutch. So I got the main clutch loose. Then I was concerned about the steering clutches. Well, for the steering clutches, I put it in gear and I pulled the steering clutch levers and pushed them and had them in the release position with the tranny in gear, and I just bumped the flywheel back and forth, and both steering clutches freed up right away. That was a big concern of mine, so I hope they're still free, because that's 2 years ago I did that. My next step is going to generally be cleaning the crankcase all up, the throws again, and the crankcase itself. And then after I clean the crankcase up, I will work on getting the rear main shimmed The center main shimmed. There you can see some of the where there was corrosion on it, but it's cleaned off. That's some pitting. And the front main shimmed. And after I get that done, I will put the plate on that closes up the back of the crankcase. Because if you take this completely apart, that's where the crankshaft comes out, through the back of the crankcase. So that's a little background of what I've done with this prior to my YouTube channel and one of my next steps, because I'm anticipating the cylinders hopefully will be bored by the end of April, or by the end of March. So I want to get the crankcase ready for the rods, pistons, and cylinders when they're done. So thanks once again for watching.